My name is Charles Byrd, and I have an online education, marketing, and productivity-based business. When I decided I'm going to create a course, I wrote down all the different topic areas that I could present or train on, and there was about 40. And then I'm like, okay, what am I actually like super proficient at? And then that narrowed it down to like 12 or 14 or something. And so I'm trying to prioritize these things. And I just kind of asked myself, what's been the most helpful and instrumental for me personally that I live and breathe all day that I can just share with other people? And so that's how I narrowed it down. And for me, that was a productivity system I've created. And a key pillar of that system is the use of Evernote, which there's 250 million Evernote users. And so it gave me a wide open market of people thirsty and familiar with the tool and seeking information about it, especially when framed the way I have and following process leads from the Course Builders Lab. As far as roadblocks, I think one of the first ones I hit was, for one, actually before I found the Course Builders Lab, was selling the course, because I was actually in pilot when I bought the Course Builders Lab, and I didn't have a ton of students. So getting clarity on if I was on the right track, initially I didn't really feel like I had enough clarity to have the confidence to take it to a broader audience. In fact, I was at a mastermind in Austin, and I promised everyone at the event they could have access to my course. But then I was like, oh, is this ready to send them? I don't know. I was kind of unsure about it. I had already started the course, but one of the reasons I decided to buy the course anyway was, for one, it was a course 100% focused on what I'd already committed to creating my business around. And two, it came with access to coaches. So basically you're not alone wondering if you're doing things right. You can talk to someone who has experience and access to a bunch of other course creators. So they're speaking the same language, and really gives you an avenue to not walk around in the dark banging into walls. Yes, Course Builders Lab changed my approach by refining it, because I probably would have tried a few different things, and I didn't quite have an avenue to get the course out in a meaningful way. And this directly takes us into the topic of, okay, so you built your course, how are you going to sell it effectively? Another key fundamental that Danny teaches, which is brilliant, is not going off, as he calls it, in a bat cave to build a course and come out a year later to find no one wants it. I really like the idea and resonate with the idea of building a course and piloting it. And that's exactly what I did. I built my course. I actually sold it from the stage. I was speaking at a conference in San Francisco. And though I didn't have a bunch of students in the first one. And so just getting the feedback from students about why they bought it, what they want to know about on the way, that can A, give you the insights you need to pivot to something the market does want, or B, if you're on the right path, which I fortunately was, really refine out the program into a very well-produced course, and magic things happen at that point, especially when you start getting into joint venture evergreen webinars, and then eventually launches, which Danny's also a master at. So the sky's the limit. It made me basically launching my course felt incredible, because I took something that didn't exist and built it, and that in itself is a amazing feeling, especially when you get over the halfway point and you start to get momentum. And I'm working on my next 2 programs, and so I'm actually back into that same feeling of needing to build up the inertia I feel like after you hit halfway, you're like, yes, of course I could do this. I knew it the whole time, but at the start, it does not feel that way. It feels like this is a big thing, a monumental thing I'm trying to accomplish. And so taking those bite-sized chunks step by step, following the process, you will hit that tipping point and the whole world opens up and the possibilities open up. So the feeling of launching, it's rather triumphant. Basically just having the team at my back and the Facebook group, they were awesome. For one, getting on calls with them to get feedback, even leads on potential partners to help promote the course was huge. And the community itself is super important too, because when you're starting a business like I was, I didn't have a big network. I'd started to create one, but a community where the only folks in there are other course creators, it gives you this method to bounce questions off the community, off the Mirasee team, not to mention the coaching calls. And then that feedback, you can thrive on it. In fact, one of the people in that group, Bruce Harpham, I met with him and we created a mastermind, and we've been meeting every week or two over the last year, and that came from that community. So trying to do this stuff in isolation is a terrible idea. Having a community that can keep you inspired when you're feeling off track, you can go to that community, they can ask questions or help guide you. And two, when you see people kicking butt using the methodologies taught in the Course Builders Lab, it gets you excited so you can keep taking action, because the surest way to fail is not follow through. So having a community to support you to follow through is the key to your success. So if you're considering joining the Course Builders Laboratory, or if you're American Laboratory, I highly recommend it. For one, Danny Inney has an outstanding reputation in this industry. He elevates the industry. He pushes it forward in the design of his launches, in his messaging, in his ethics, in the way he treats people that follow the blog, the podcast. So I've been able to work with him ever since I signed up, and really you're dealing with one of the best in the business, and I wouldn't hesitate to commit to it, jump in on it. And I feel very fortunate to be, I would say, an amazing case study, because I've followed what Danny's taught and my business is taking off. I just hired my second employee, a 9-year veteran from Eben Pagan's team. We're planning our first internal launch, our first JV launch, which I have 15 partners signed up for, and I have not even tried. We're going to end up with probably 45 partners or more. I haven't made any attempt to get partners, and we're already at around 15. So I would consider this step one of an amazing journey where you get to interact with some of the smartest people on the planet, best-selling authors, people changing the world, people traveling everywhere. I've traveled more in the last year than I've probably traveled in my whole life. And just this month, I'm going to be in 8 cities. I'm doing 14 webinars. Like, everything's blowing up. I was interviewed on a podcast yesterday, booked for a feature article in a new magazine for our industry. That was just yesterday. And every day I call my wife and my brother and go, you wouldn't believe what happened today. It's because I started with this, and it's absolutely worth your time. Get off the fence and start making the things you talk about and think about happen, because really it's up to you. Even with the best frameworks, it's up to you. You're the one doing the work. But when you're doing the work with support, with the guidance of people who know exactly what they're doing, and you just listen to what they say and then do it, magic things happen. So I wouldn't hesitate. Jump in on this. You're going to love the quality of the content, the messaging, and really you've got a team of experts at your back. I would capitalize.